in a recent book I wrote about this relationship between music and medicine. I devoted just one entire chapter to see how music and medicine since ancient times, also since Egypt, Babylonia, and for example in the Hammurabi Codex, that is one of the ancient documents of the medicine from the Babylon times. They are documenting how important is music for the well-being of people.
Good morning, Patricia. It's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Good morning, Petra. I'm super happy to meet you too.
And tell me, where are you based at the moment?
I'm in Barcelona. That's home for me.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful city to call home.
Yes, it has been my home for 24 years now.
Really? And tell me, you have such an amazing story, and your everything you do is so focused on music and focused on. Well, you're also a physician. You're not just a musician, but you're also a physician. You must love to study.
Yes, yes, I love to study, and you know that some people or children, I don't know, they think studying is something boring or that requires effort. For me, probably studying is a way of life. It's a way of approaching things. It's constantly curious about learning about things. So I don't feel I'm studying. It's just living, learning, curiosity.
But were you like this as a child?
I think so. I was always trying to learn, and I think part of this way of seeing life and approaching the world comes from having studied music since a very early age. Because when you are studying music, you are stimulating your brain, you are awakening parts of your brain that normally, if you wouldn't study music, you wouldn't have that stimulus. Probably is harder, I think.
Yeah. So, but because I wanted to ask you now, what came first? So you say you studied music from a young age, and did you know then that you wanted to become like a professional musician or a singer?
So actually, no. I started studying music when I was 5 years old because my dad loves music. In fact, I was telling you that recently I went to Vienna, and I was all the time thinking about him because I grew up listening to Mozart, to Beethoven, to Western classical music thanks to my dad. And so I grew up in this environment at the conservatory. But when I thought in studying a career, I was very young. I finished high school at 16. So the choice of going to university was at that age. In my mind, and probably conditioned by social expectations and family expectations, etc., music was not a career at that time. You don't see music as a career. And I think it happened to many musicians in previous times, that music is something like it's an ornament. And also for women, historically, women since centuries ago, they were trained in music, but that was an ornament.
Yeah.
Not something to think as a profession. So something like that I happened to me. So when I went to choose my career was medicine, because I also was attracted for that, and also the idea of helping others, and what was something appealing to me. So I started studying the career of medicine, that is 7 years in Colombia, where I was born. So that's another aspect.
Yeah.
So, but the first thing I looked for when I entered at the university was, of course, the choir of the university. So my friends at the university came from the choir, or the people who were doing culturally related, like arts. But it was very hard to study music full time or to be at the conservatory while I was at medical school, because the studies were very time consuming, very demanding.
Mm.
So I had my singing as my hobby, and I sung at the choir, and I also gave many concerts in all the hospitals. When I started um, in the hospital after
Yeah.
in the fourth year of medical school, we entered to do the practice in the hospitals. So I, together with other colleagues who were my teachers, professors of medicine who were also musicians, we created a small music group, and we presented concerts in many hospitals.
Amazing.
See. So that was the way in which I managed to keep the music alive, although I was not studying, and at the time I have not studied voice, or I never received vocal training during those years. I just sung as I had the voice,
Yeah.
but I never have received vocal training until I was 23.
Mm. And but that was in between the time that you studied medicine that you got the vocal training. Yeah. But isn't this amazing? I mean, it just shows you how. This is what I'm trying to get at with all these interviews. Also, is how connected art and sciences are.
Yes, they are connected, and they historically, sadly, nowadays that we have compartmentalized knowledge in such a way since Enlightenment, and I find this very sad, because all arts are connected,
Yeah.
and arts and sciences are
Yeah.
connected. And you are talking from Vienna, you live in Vienna. Now it comes to my mind this golden time of the union between arts and sciences at the turn of the 20th century in Vienna, where Freud and Klimt and Mahler and Kokoschka and they were at the same time living together, but not only living at the same time, but collaborating, because what was being found in science was informing what was happening in arts also. So they were connected, and they finding the unconscious mind and all these things by Freud also had impact in the visual arts and music. So they were connected.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know in which moment we start super specializing and dividing, which I think it impoverish our approach to reality.
Yeah. And the thing is also, I mean, I spoke not long ago to an obstetrician, and he says that I spoke to him as an artist, because he's a sculptor, and he tells me that many of his students, he said that it's either poetry or music or something like that they are doing, and I find that so interesting, that that in these science fields that people are also doing art.
So imagine now, we found it curious, but since ancient times, music, for example, music and medicine had been together. Since, for example, in the medieval times, if you would like to be a physician, you have to know music, because
Really?
that was a requirement, because there were certain melodies and tunes that were used in the healing of patients, for example. And also the training of the physician included astrology, history, music.
Amazing.
All these things were part of the training of the physician. In a recent book I wrote about this relationship between music and medicine, I devoted just one entire chapter to see how music and medicine, since ancient times, also since Egypt, Babylonia, and for example in the Hammurabi Codex, that is one of the ancient documents of the medicine from the Babylon times. they are documenting how important is music for the well-being of people and is used. And for example, Plato and all in Greece and all other philosophers, they also acknowledge the power and the importance of music to soothe the and heal the mind and to be like center and to be happy. So this is documented through history since centuries and centuries ago.
And this is for me so incredible that, and even after this pandemic, and you see how people reverted to art the moment everything was taken away, people started creating, and they started, people who's never baked before started baking and exploring all these artistic fields. And you think that, why are we not educating our children in art? Art should be a very important subject in a school. And now it's like half an hour a week maybe, and, or on the side or in the afternoon, and no focus really on that.
This is very worrisome because I think our super capitalistic society that is just focusing in gaining and accumulating money and material wealth is not seeing that the essential well-being of human beings is not based on what you have money. You need to have a certain minimum level of well-being and material wealth to have education, health, food, and roof in your you have a roof. But just accumulating for the sake of accumulating, you lose track. And so because of that mentality, our society is now completely focused in training children and preparing them for sciences and technologies, but sciences and technologies that are totally detached from the human part of it. And arts and humanities are the ones who enrich enrich and give purpose to our skills in technology. And we see is dramatic that for example, if we look at the European Union and the money that they have for funding for research, you see that there is for research or for funding businesses grants, they have this let's say 100 for technology, and for humanities they have 20. So it seems like we are not appreciating, because what we are assigning money in resources means where we have our values. So exactly. Yes, so we are not appreciating our immaterial heritage, our history, the humanities, and this is what exactly makes us different from the machine. And in the not very near far away future, machines will be doing most of the tasks we are doing now. So people will be with a lot of time. And time for what? Time for, probably it should be taking care of others, taking care of us, creativity, but we are not training people for that. This is very worrisome.
And also what I've also spoken about is the fact that even research, you have to have creativity, and you have to have a very open, creative mind to be able to do this research. So if money is then allocated to research, it needs to also prepare the people who are going to do the research.
Yes,
in that way.
I totally agree, because creativity, and there are many studies. This is another chapter of my book in which I show how correlative talents, there are for example, some of the Nobel Prize people or big achievers in our history in sciences have all cultivated arts of music, because it seems like from a brain perspective, it stimulates a multimodal cognition. I mean, different areas of the brain that are the ones who spark creativity. Those are called the correlative talents. So you see, for example, Einstein was a very gifted violinist, or Ramon y Cajal, who was a Nobel Prize in neurology, he was a painter, or Max Planck also was a musician. And so there were many of these scientists, super scientists, who won Nobel Prizes in physics or in mathematics, or so they were also musicians. And this music also straightened their abilities and also gave them. It's said that Einstein said that when he had a very difficult problems in physics, what he did was he went to his room, he closed himself and played the violin for a long time. And when he went out, he had the answer.
Amazing. Yeah. But yeah, and it's also I saw a research or a study being done in Germany where they put monitors on the brains of musicians, but then also on the audience, and they found that even by listening, the same happens.
Yes. So the positive effects of music are for the person who practice it, of course, because it's like a very demanding task for the brain. Because imagine if you are, for example, playing the piano, at the same time you are the motor skills, the attention, the memory, the rhythm, all these things, many things at the same time are happening. This is a very high demanding task for the brain. But also, if you are listening to the music, there are many areas of the brain activating the emotion, the memory, and all the attention, and all the requirements to understand the music, to feel it, and to, for example, spark rhythm or the desire to dance or to cry. So all these things are happening and stimulating the brain for the one who plays and for the one who listens. It's beneficial.
And another thing that I also, when I spoke to the obstetrician we talked about this art and how these doctors then also who he actually encourages them to do art in their spare time and so on. But also when it comes to patients, working with patients, that they have an empathy, that they have a different way of dealing with the people that they need to heal or look after.
Probably yes, because I think you get in touch with your own feelings in a way that you are obliged through practicing art, or painting, or writing, or singing, playing an instrument. What you have to do while you are doing that is to quiet your mind and put your full attention in something that is connecting you with your own feelings, with your own, is bringing you inside. Our modern world is constantly bringing us outside, disconnecting us from ourselves, connecting us to devices or other people is outside of us. So when we connect with ourselves, we feel, and we also, sometimes it's hard because we are confronted with our sorrows, with our frustrations, with our fears. This calls to our humanity. It means we remember we are humans, and we can put ourselves in the place of others who are suffering or experiences these things, and makes us more compassionate.
Yeah.
So this is very important for a health professional.
Yeah.
So to feel that, this other person, I have compassion because I know how is feel that way. So it creates a better bonding, better relationship between the doctor or the medical practitioner and the patient. But not only that, if you play music for the patients, there are many studies that are famous now, some of them, that show how, for example, in Alzheimer patients who have lost their memories, music that has meaning for them, or that has had meaning for them,
Yeah.
can spark memories that were believed were completely lost. Because, as I was mentioning before, music stimulates many areas of the brain, including one of them that is very important is memory. So these, you or the people who are listening to us, they can relate to the fact that there are songs that immediately bring us to our teenager years or to our childhood, or we link our identity, our own history, to certain music, each person in their own unique cultural environment. So these connections are in a way like anchors that bring the memory to us in case, for example, if you have Alzheimer's. That's why it's recommended that we create kind of a diary of our music, the music that is important for us and the music that we like, or a playlist if we use, for example, a modern Spotify or something like that. We create those playlists with the music that is meaningful to us, because this music could be a therapeutical tool in case in a certain moment we would experience memory loss or degeneration, cognitive degeneration, because it will help to spark the brain.
Mhm.
So there are many uses for music also when people are terminal patients. There are many studies in which through music, through writing songs, you don't have to be a musician or a professional musician to write a song or to write a lyrics or something that is meaningful to you. So using songwriting in terminal patients have proved to be cathartic or to help in this process of accepting our own mortality. Even without being we are all terminal patients in the sense that we are all dying. We will die at any moment. It could be tomorrow or in 20 years. But mortality is something that in our society we also tend to deny. Apparently, nobody dies and nobody talks about death because it's something that is we don't want to confront. But through music and through all those exercises, especially when people know that they have a terminal illness, they can kind of come to terms to this mortality, write what they're in those songs, what is important to them, what they want to communicate to their families. Also, there have been many studies in which families of terminal ill people, or families of people who have decided to voluntary death, euthanasia, they gather and they exchange the music that had been important for them in certain periods, and they also play the music that is important for the people and that accompany that person who is dying in the moment of death. And music proves to be a companion, a facilitator in this transit.
That's amazing. I didn't realize, I mean, I didn't know it to that extent, but it makes total sense that that could happen. And I'm wondering now that we're talking about this, could this also be the reason why folk songs who come from generation to generation, that is almost like a comfort to us, because it would be something your grandmother sang to you and you sing it to your children again, and this is how this sort of a memory and this emotional memory almost continues.
That's a beautiful thought, because what you are saying, yes, music is used. For example, there is this also well-known example of the jazz funerals in New Orleans. You know, the jazz funerals, when a member of the community dies, people come out with all these bands and celebrating.
Oh,
And through music, what are we doing through music? All those rituals that use music in the moment of death, or when we lose a member of our community, is to preserve this member of the community with us. Although the person is not with us, through the music and the ritual, we try to preserve this member and to maintain their memory. So exactly what you mentioned, through folk music or music who pass from one generation to another, we are preserving this memory. We are maintaining our own identity, because our identity, who I am, is formed not all of who I am right now, this body. I'm the adding the sum of sum, I don't know if you say that in English, the collection of me and all the members, the previous generations, that had been adding to make me who I am right now. And music is folk music and melodies are a reminder of that. Yes, that's a beautiful connection that you.
Yeah, no, I just thought of that while we were while you were mentioning this. But tell me, what sparked this book? What sparked it for you to do this research in these connections?
So I have been, as we mentioned, studying music since I was small. Then I studied medicine, and at certain point when I was 28, 29, and I had been, as soon as I finished medicine, I went back to the conservatory to study voice.
Okay.
Finally, but I thought it would be my hobby.
Oh, yeah.
But little by little, music started taking more spaces of my life and making me happier. So at certain point, I said, I wouldn't like to be one day 40 years old and look back and say I could do and didn't do. So I will try to become a full-time musician. So when I made that decision, I took that decision. It was when I came to live to Barcelona, to change my identity in a way and to start with as a musician, to come to study with a teacher, to start my doctorate in musicology, etc. So for many years, I was into the world of music and musicology only. I was thinking that. And I thought I had left the medical part behind. But with year, and I also was kind of regretting, I started late in these studies in music because I wasted those years with medicine and studying medicine, and now everything is harder because I'm arriving late.
Yeah.
So, but after a few years, I felt and I discovered that all that medical training had added a lot to the musician and the person that I was, and that though both things were inseparable. So in the latest years, I had been trying to honor both sides. And during the pandemic, I said, finally, I have a little bit more time, so I will sit and write about that combination of music and health, and try also to document it from a historical perspective, adding my training as a historian because I'm a musicologist. So this book is a combination of historical, medical, and musical elements. And I wanted also to do this in a way that would be very accessible, very easy to read, with rigor, academic rigor, but in a accessible way. So I just said, I want more people to know the wonders of music, so and their health. So that's what I decided to write this book.
And that's the timing of it is perfect, because really I think we all are much more conscious of our health after this pandemic.
I think people are more aware of the importance of health. Hopefully this will last, because we tend to forget. um but yes, I think now more than ever people need to resort to these activities to connect with themselves, even without the pandemic. These times that are so fast, and all the things we are experiencing, wars, lack of resources, the environment, all these very extreme situations in which have we have put ourselves, are demonstrating that we advance in science and in technology, but as humans, in our humanity, we are like people in the caves.
Yeah.
We are not evolving as humans in the same speed as we are as our technology is evolving. And this means that behind this technology we have to nurture all this with other tools, other um, acknowledgments, other enrich that.
Because also I think if we don't, then we would also not be able to handle the advances in technology, that we would also not use it in a positive way as it's supposed to be used, because mentally we would not be able to understand the reasoning for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Also, the purpose. I mean, there are some studies. I one of the chapters is called life meaning. I don't remember the title at this very moment, but it's talking about the meaning of life and music and the meaning of life, demonstrating there are also many studies in which professional musicians or people who practice music in all age, they feel more integrated in their communities, they are healthier psychologically, and they find that their life has a meaning. Because the musician or person who practice any art are constantly trying to improve, to learn new skills, to do it better, to learn a piece that is a little bit more complex, and to do it. Sometimes music, you do it in community with others. So this is proof to make us happier and also give us purpose, the sense of purpose in life that keeps us healthier for longer periods until old age. So the meaning of what everything we are doing is for what? Everything we are advancing in technology is for what? For probably being happier, living better lives. But we are losing track of that.
Yeah. Well, this was actually the project that I did over lockdown when I photographed 500 artists in their windows, and I spoke also to them in the time. And this was really what drove this project was my question that the more I spoke to them, the more I spoke to artists and the whole project, how I photographed them, and things started thinking, okay, why is it possible for these people to persevere? Why is it possible for them to find these solutions in this devastating times for them? And how is it possible that they can still be positive and that they can still see solutions? And this I realized it is because they are invested in a form of art. They are either a musician or a dancer, but
or a photographer like you.
But through this form of art, they develop these skills. They develop these skills to find a positive, or to. This was I was thinking, Yes, well, if they practice, every day, and every day or every time there's a new challenge, so they overcome this new challenge, and so they live their lives of overcoming little challenges. For a long time, it's like now I'm learning a new piece, or I'm learning a new skill, or whatever. So that prepares them really for life's bigger obstacles. So they seem to find a way over obstacles, and this is why I think it's so important that we teach art to our children. All forms of art should be really a very important subject in a school.
You see, yeah, I agree completely. And you see that now I remember the title of this chapter is Music, Happiness, and the Meaning of Life. So there is a professor at the University of California whose last name is Chichen Heights. So he is the expert in studying happiness. How is that we feel happy? Why? In which states? What makes us feel happy? How we achieve that state of happiness? So he after years of research, he found that the state of flow, as he called it, is achieved when we are completely invested in our attention in one activity in which we know we can do it well, but at the same time we can do it well, but it represents also a challenge that is achievable. So in this activity in which we have our attention, complete attention invested, we know that we are doing something that is challenging, that we can get it. People lose track of time, usually in this state of flow, as he described it. They don't feel, and they feel completely connected in the moment with what they are doing. So those are the moments of flow or happiness that we can achieve when you are, for example, thinking how to do this picture, how the light, or the challenge of doing that right, or singing a new song, or writing a new text, or painting, or painting houses, because he found, for example, that some people who were sportists, or people who were just painting houses, they wanted to do it well, and they were invested completely in that activity, and they lost track of time, and they were in the moment completely feeling fulfilled. So that's happiness, and that's through these activities, like through artistic activities, we achieve this flow.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm going to try and read about that, because this.
Yes, so read my book.
I know, read your book. Definitely, yeah. But Patricia, you also I don't know if you've tried to sing also, and to try to delve into music that's a repertoire that's not very commonly heard. Is that right? It's something that you feel passionate about as well.
Yes, I have a sense of mission in life, and that mission is connected to the need of preserving and promoting internationally the repertoire created by Latin American and Iberian composers, the art song repertoire. And when I say art song, I'm referring to the lead repertoire, probably the song, the classical song that people usually think was created only in the German speaking countries in 19 and 20th century. But this repertoire, also this kind of song, also had been created in all over the world. So part of my research, and as a musicologist, is coming from what is called the Colonial Studies, and is that I'm trying to raise awareness that all these paradigms of thought that in which we situated. Many people think the music is the music of Central Europe, and the rest of that's the only music, and the rest is just peripheric or music that is not of the same quality. This is a construction coming from the centers of power of 18th and 19th century, in which they situated themselves and their cultural productions in the center as the best, and the music produces in the peripheries at the time, economic peripheries, was situated in a lower scale. So I'm trying to raise awareness of that fact that this is a construction, is not a reality, and there is no one music. There are many musics of the same quality created in different parts of the world. And my part of the world, the one that I can devote my life to it, is of course Latin America and the Iberian Peninsula. And I have been, as a singer, singing this repertoire in Spanish, in Portuguese, in Catalan, and also in some indigenous languages. So I'm passionate about, yes, so recording CDs, writing books, and publishing the music so other singers can perform it, because nowadays in all the institutions who train musicians, classical singers around the world, the curricula of all these institutions is still Eurocentric from 19th century. So they are trained learning German lead, Italian, and French. That's it. So that curriculum reflects those values of 18th, 19th century, but is Eurocentric, colonialistic. So my thing is, we have to construct a new curriculum that is inclusive and diverse.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting that you're saying that, because I remember speaking to a classical singer in South Africa, Barbara Veernemans, and she was telling me about Afrikaans leader. That's also not well known, and that she said also beautiful leader in Afrikaans, and beautiful melodies and so on. And it's something that is also not known about, so it's interesting that you mention it now from also the Latin American.
Yes, so I have been doing this work and trying to write books and publishing and doing, and the work I'm doing, trying to promote this repertoire, this heritage, is also inspiring people from other places, like from Turkey, or now there is a person in Romania, or a person in different parts, that they are now using kind of a similar methodology to rescue other art song repertoires.
Amazing, yeah.
See,
your work is just spreading the world and connecting them, connecting with other people. Isn't it amazing?
So yes, I feel so privileged. I work a lot and all the time. Also, part of these peripheries, or not music that is not seen, was the works of women.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, those narratives, those constructions were built by men.
Yeah.
So also the art songs, are the compositions by women, have a special place in my research. I'm working now in that. Or in October, I'm going to. I was invited to the 25th anniversary of the African American Art Songs Alliance. So I will be talking about Afro-Latin composers and their art songs. So to see all this panorama, all the ones who have been in the peripheries, and bring them to the center.
That's wonderful. I congratulate you on this work, really.
Muchas gracias, Petra.
Yeah, and especially when in a woman, like you say, that in music we don't recognize. I mean, I've spoken to a pianist who told me that of women composers whose work has never been really played or not as much recognized, and that he also looks for those works, that they're beautiful music, but because in the time when it was women composing, that was not recognized as good music. Yeah.
Yes, and also our rationalist way of seeing life that is coming from the masculine narrative and from the Eurocentric narrative that put in the center the intellectual, the rational, and despise the corporeal, the emotional, and assign the emotionality and the to the lower to what they call some lower societies or backward societies. Also, emotion was linked with women, so all their compositions by women were immediately put in a low level of appreciation. But also, when we are only trying to acknowledge the contribution of women to music, if we are only looking for the composers, we are falling in the same trap of only assigning value to the more intellectual or rational part of what music is, that is composing. Because why? The a big and important part of what music is performing the music and also teaching the music. And those music women were, let's say, this since the 16th century on before on, they were teachers teaching music in the home. They were performers. They were magnificent pianists and singers and performers in the homes of the elites who had access to music education. But they were also transmitting music to the next generations because they were in the space of in the homes, in the the salons of the 19th century, for example, also that were private spaces. Music was made by women and was passed from generation to generation because of women. So we tend to not to see that, only focusing on the composers. Yes, the composers were important, and they were less because, I mean, being going back to my first statement when I said that music was not seen as a profession, but more as an ornament. Imagine this in the 18th century, 17th century, that was really, women were prepared, only trained for getting married and bearing children. But they were playing an important role in the preservation and transmission of music skills and music appreciation. So that's equally important than the work of the composers.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. Oh, you make me think so much about these things. This is amazing. I'm definitely going to read your book. Where is your book available now? Tell me.
So my book is called We Are What We Listen to, The Impact of Music on Individual and Social Health. And this book is available in English on Amazon. People can buy it. It's on Amazon. And it's in Spanish also, Somos Lo Que Escuchamos, and it's also in Portuguese. So, so people can buy it from different parts of the world through Amazon, for example, or online they can find it.
Okay, and I'm going to put I'll put a link also to your website in the description of the so if somebody wants to contact you.
Thank you very much, Petra. So, and all my books also, I created an online store that is called Mundo Arts.
Oh, okay. I will put that also. Yeah.
So in Mundo Arts, all my books are there.
Amazing. You're an incredible woman, really. I feel so privileged to talk to you.
And I feel privileged to talk to you, Petra.
Thank you, Patricia. But tell me now, what are your wishes for the future?
For me or for the world?
For you. for both.
So I'm very ambitious, not for money, but ambitious in the sense of wanting more and more and more learning. I want to learn constantly to learn more things, and my wish for my future would be, my happiness would be having time to be able to develop all my creativity and write and sing and connect to people. So for me, the most precious gift and value is this, the time to be able to express my creativity. That's my biggest aspiration.
That's wonderful, because you've already done so much. This is so incredible that I think that you will still do many things.
It is a challenge because, I mean, from the economic point of view, for example, if you see, I'm devoting myself entirely to do these things that I love and write. And not usually, people who do what I do are university professors. They are linked to an institutions who pay them for doing what I normally do. But I'm a freelance academic. So I do, and also I value that very much right now. I'm aware now, not in the past, I was not aware of that, but this freedom and the fact that I own all my time to do my research have allowed me to also explore different areas that if I would be at a university, probably I wouldn't be able to do it with this freedom.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm connected and I constantly visiting universities and presenting my work there, but I'm not working at any. So this is very good for my research, but also it's a challenge from the economic point of view, because I have to make my work, my research work, sustainable. So this is also, my creativity has to express in ways of how to make that profitable.
Yeah, I understand that very well. And I also think it's also always a little bit more difficult if you have something where you feel like that it you understand the purpose, but somebody else doesn't understand it already, for it to be understood from a financial point of view. So I think that's also sometimes a difficult thing.
Also, that the things that I like or the music that I do is not mainstream.
Yeah.
Is not popular pop music. It's not music for the masses, because I mean, I don't have anything against that music, but this is not my call. So I'm going kind of against mainstream to preserve some part of our heritage, that if we don't do something, it will be lost. But this is not mainstream. It's not selling millions of copies.
Yeah. But I love that. I love people who don't do mainstream things. Really, I think this is because you have to be brave to do that.
Yes, but I think it's more than being brave, is that sometimes you have this advocation that is so strong that you cannot do something different.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yeah. But now, Patricia, this was so lovely to talk to you, but I have one more question for you.
See?
Can you do a shout out for your favorite restaurant or coffee shop there in Barcelona? I haven't had anybody to mention a coffee shop in Barcelona yet. Where do you go normally?
Oh, so my favorite place in the world is my home.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But let's see. There are so many beautiful places in Barcelona. More than a place itself. Oh, yes. My favorite place in the city is the Biblioteca de Catalunya, the National Library.
Yeah.
Which is a 15th century building
Yeah.
that was built originally as a hospital.
Really?
It is one of them, and is considered one of the most beautiful libraries in the world, Gothic style, and it became library at the beginning of 20th century, and is located in the center of Barcelona in a neighborhood called El Raval, and this huge, amazing building is surrounded by a garden and very peaceful with orange trees, and there is a cafe right there.
Yeah.
That is a very nice place to just go and sit around the library, and so that's one place that is nice.
What wonderful. What is the place called? The cafe?
Al Jardi.
Okay.
Al Jardi is the garden.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll put the link of the cafe also in the description.
Oh, good.
So that people who visit Barcelona can go there.
Yes, and also we have a beautiful street called with the name of one of our greatest composers, Enrique Granados.
Yeah.
So the street Enrique Granados is a beautiful street for people to just walk by and see a lot of coffee shops and restaurants, and it's a beautiful place.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I'll have to come to visit Barcelona.
Yes, Petra.
Yeah.
You come, we go to those places, hopefully.
Yes. But when you come to Vienna again, then hopefully soon, then we will also go somewhere here nice in Vienna.
Claro que sí. I hope to go back. I like it very much.
That's great. Patricia, it was so lovely to talk to you, and I wish you much success with your book and all the other projects you are doing. And I think it's wonderful work that you're doing, also representing, these songs, the art songs of the Latin American art songs, and the like you say, the languages that it's not commonly heard in. And I think it's wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you, Petra. Thank you very much. I also think it's wonderful work you are doing. It's very important for people who do things like I do. I'm always grateful for people like you to call attention to the work we are doing, to inspire other people. So it's very important what you are doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your kind words. Well, have a lovely afternoon.
You too.
And we'll speak soon.
Okay, bye, Petra.
Bye.
Gracias. Adiós.
Thank you. Bye.